next thing?
Yeah, big thing. I just want to fill you guys in on just some availability of players for the spring game, and then just the format. So these guys will not be participating. Nothing is long-term. None of this is. A lot of it's precautionary. The only one that, just to note, we got Lance just a little. It's literally, he's going to be back in 4 weeks, but he's going to be out for the spring game. Okay, so Lance is out. Nick Anderson, Vontae Barnes, C.J. Baxter, Xavier Daisy, Alex DiMartino, Ben Duncombe, Hardley Gilmore, Sam Green, Lance, Davis McCray, Cam Miller, Kyle Mixon, Tavani Mizell, Abba Selm, and then Jaden Smith. So all those guys will not be available for the game. So I just want to make sure there's no uncertainty. Everybody is expected to be full return, full go by the time they get back from May. So excited about the spring game that we got on Saturday. It's 11 a.m. start. There's weather looming, as we all know. So I want to make sure all of our fans know that we're going to keep them posted throughout the next day and a half. Don't want anybody wasting their time if it is inclement weather and severe chance of thunderstorms, and we're going to have to make the appropriate call come game time. But the blue will be the offense, the white is the defense. Quarterbacks will be in black uniforms, black jerseys. Those are non-contact. There will be some non-contact players out there for either side of the ball in black uniforms. It means that they just won't be able to live tackle in those settings or be tackled to the ground. The first half is going to be a 15-minute running clock. Second half will be 12 minutes. We'll stop the clock, or we'll keep the clock running unless it's a score, a penalty, change of possession. The last 2 minutes of each half will play it out like a 2-minute timeout. And then we're going to live tackle for the beginning of the scrimmage, but it's going to be at my discretion how much we need or not. The first 2 scrimmages of the year, we really went about 30 plays, so it could be the first quarter, it could be a quarter and a half, could be the first half. So I'm just going to make the call on that when we're out there. And then once we go from live tackle and we're done from live, it'll just be thud mode, which is just basically hit and wrap up, staying off the ground. Scoring the offense, a touchdown is worth 6, field goal is worth 3, extra points 1. We can go a 2-point conversion from 3, or a 4-point conversion, which would be fun, from the 10-yard line. And then the defense can get points with the touchdown themselves, 6, turnovers worth 6, a 3-and-out or a turnover on downs is worth 3 for the defense, and then a forced punt is worth 1. So it should be a really fun format for the fans. And I think these guys have had a really good spring football. We were pretty competitive out there today. I didn't do the traditional 7-on-7. We were just in helmets and spiders. So we called it OT 7-on-7. So all these guys play like competitive AAU 7-on-7. So we played that game out there, and it was fun. So the ball was on the 45-yard line. They had 3 downs to get to the 30, 3 downs to get to the 15, and then 4 to score. We had Tommy Schuler was the head coach of one team. He loves the 7-on-7s, and then Ty Holder was the head coach of the other team. So had two GAs calling on one side and 2 GAs calling on the other side for offense defense today. So we had a lot of fun out there. I was competitive, had a 2-minute drive for both sides of the ball as well. We had just a little team period, but a lot of individual today, a lot of special teams. So with that, I'll just open it up.
Well, what's the benefit for you to have a different kind of scoring system?
Well, I mean, when you go offense versus defense, you just have to reward the defense for stops. So I've been a part of games like this, O versus D, and then I've been a part of an inter-squad scrimmage where it's truly a split team where you can score it like traditional football. I just felt like this was best because of the availability of our certain players, that just going OD and mixing it that way was the easiest.
Well, this Mamba drill that we've seen highlights of that your players have, where did that come from? Where did you get that?
We did it at my last spot, so did it out at Oregon. I thought was really good. We just add a little bit more to it, a little bit more players each time we do it. But yeah, that's really where I got it from Dan.
Talk about some of the defensive players also wearing those black jerseys, those non-tackle jerseys. Is that just all precautionary stuff?
Yeah, guys that might have a little shoulder here and there, you just don't want anybody tackling and subluxing their shoulders, so it's really more for protection for them. So they'll be in like tag mode on a offensive player.
Just on the injuries in general, you feel like everybody's going to be ready to go?
Everybody's going to be back, 100%. 100%. I can say that with 100% certainty. So I'm excited about that, and some stuff you just want to make sure we just got to get these guys to the fall. and I'm not going to risk anything with certain players. And then, but yeah, I feel really confident about that.
With Lance out, how do you feel about your tackle depth?
Feel good. Mark's played left tackle. He's actually had a really good camp. Really excited about Mark. Malachi can swing. Olas can swing. So we'll be fine. Lance literally went through the entire spring football until today. He had a minor procedure done that we just wanted to make sure we get it done now and not wait any longer. So he was literally doing our walkthroughs yesterday and sweating.
We'll turn loose with the question for Coach Sloan.
Your side get out of spring practice. What's the biggest?
One, I think just, Coach Stein does a great job with a lot of different situational football opportunities, and we just get so many reps. Splitting the team up into two teams and just two-spotting everything, the different opportunities that we get from a walkthrough standpoint, practice standpoint, and then all the different situations that come up. It just allows us to get a lot of plays installed, which is critical for us, getting things on tape that now we can go back and study and teach off of this summer, and getting to know our players, right? And, we get to, with the way we do, the way we format practice and everything, we get an opportunity to really see a lot of guys, so we can talk about what are the things that they need to work on and really have some great plans between now and August camp. So,
anybody really emerge that you weren't expecting from the spring that really surprised you?
I think there was a lot of guys who just did some great stuff. I would say we were getting used to everybody, right? Just being new. Obviously, some of the guys who had played here before, we had college tape on, and some of the guys that we brought in the portal, we had college tape on, and then some young high school players. But I think a lot of guys did great things. I don't know that there's any one guy that, I didn't think, I think we had expectations for everyone coming in, and I thought a lot of guys showed that they can handle a role. And I think that's really what will happen between now and August is, coming into August, you got to define your role throughout the summer and the first week of August, because then we start getting really ready for the season.
Coach Stein, last week, he rated out a play from Kenny where he adjusted the defense and then adjusted to their adjustment, and it resulted in an incompletion, but that was the play that he really loved. So what is Kenny's growth been in this spring?
Yeah, I think we asked the quarterback, right, to control a lot of things out there in our system, and I think it's great, right? It's what playing quarterback's all about. Obviously, Kenny's a really good thrower of the football. He's athletic. He can do so many things. But I think the way he's handled, the different, all the plays that we've thrown at him, all the situations we've thrown at him, but then like the one that Coach Stein was talking about in particular is just now starting to adjust protections, adjust runs, and be able to make quick adjustments, but also have an awareness of the situation, right, where the play clock is, or what kind of situation are we in, what are we trying to accomplish. And I think that's showing up in practice, and that's what was exciting. Everybody can answer it in an air-conditioned room, right, with a notepad, kicking back in a chair, right? Can you answer it, right, and execute it, right, in the moment when you have to? And I think that was one of those examples, and I think he's shown a lot of that, right, throughout spring, especially here as of late.
What do you think he'll show Kenny and the rest of the quarterbacks? What do you think they'll show Kentucky fans that they haven't seen? They've only heard what you guys said or what's been close to what we said. What do you think they'll show fans that they don't?
Well, I think one thing, Kenny's always going to represent us the right way, which I love. He carries himself like a pro. He's in here, he's working, he's communicating with the players, he's communicating with the coaching staff. He shows up to work every single day. And then I said it before last time I talked to you guys, right, is I think his accuracy consistently shows up. He's able to make plays with his feet. And then, when he's had some opportunities, he's been accurate down the field. And I think he's driving the football better than what he did. There's just some things we're working on that way. And getting his feet in the ground as he has different pocket movements. Because in this league, right, we're going to have some dirty pockets. Right, that's going to happen. And I think that's been really just a lot of things that he's worked on really hard. And I think have shown up. So I'm excited for him. But I think a lot of the quarterback room has improved. I think Brennan's made just massive jumps, and I think Chikai's done a really nice job. So I think all those guys are working. But I definitely am excited for Kenny with how he's taken advantage of the opportunity in front of him and his growth since he's gotten here in January.
How do you feel about running back? Obviously, holding CJ and Javante out of contact has given other guys opportunities. How do you feel about that position?
Yeah, well, I think, as you look, obviously those guys have played a lot of football, which is great. If we were having to hold them out and they hadn't played a bunch, that's tough. But I think they're both really smart. They're good learners, and they've played a lot of football. So that's gives us comfort. But I think the JP obviously has taken advantage of reps. I think Deuce has consistently gotten better, and then I think Martell's in his move over and what he's done, especially probably the last 7 practices or so, probably the last 2 weeks. I think you can really start to see his comfortability. I mean, missing all the walkthroughs right in February, leading into spring, and then just kind of getting popped into that position was a lot. As he's settled down, I think you can really see his athletic ability and his physicality. So that's been great. I think Colby Smith that just does a fabulous job. I think you could see it in the places he's been before, the production that those guys have had. And I think the kids really respond to him and Coach Tobridge. I think they're really responding to those guys, and they've done a great job working to get those guys better throughout the spring. And I know it's been it's always a little frustrating when a couple guys are out, but hey, it's a next man up mentality, and those kind of things are going to happen in the fall. And maybe it's at running, maybe it's a different position. We don't know. That's what I love about the structure of how we do things, because you get an opportunity to coach every player on our football team in real situations, not, hey, young guys, go over there on the other side and we're just going to run some base plays. Like, they're out there and they're running what we're running. And I love it. I do.
I've heard a lot about the cameras and helmets for quarterbacks and being a high-tempo defense coach. Should we expect to see those in the spring game as well?
Oh, yeah. We won't take them off, I don't think. I mean, some of those decisions aren't made by me, but I can't imagine we would. We're going to always have a mindset and a culture of pushing the norms and working for growth and using every tool that's out there that we feel like can help our players win. And I think Coach Stein's had that mindset. I've had that mindset. That was part of our relationship, over the last several years, is always pushing the envelope and trying to do new things that help our guys grow. We're going to have that growth mindset, and I think he's established that throughout this building and throughout our organization, which is awesome. And the cameras, are one great example. It's been really good because you get to see it from their vantage point, but you also, there's a verbal aspect to it. And we, the quarterbacks have to talk a lot, communicate. So hearing how they communicate, when you hear yourself, you get an opportunity to really grow.
Well, you can't mention guys specifically, but what kind of feedback are you getting from all these guys who are coming in and visiting, getting a chance to view what you guys do on a practice?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some really good players here. I think this is an unbelievable place. When we get the opportunity to talk about University of Kentucky, when we get the opportunity to talk about Lexington, and we get the opportunity to talk about the staff that Coach Stein's put together, that's what has attracted some really good football players to come here and visit us. I think consistently what everyone said is the energy and the amount of reps we get at practice and how we coach, and that everyone's getting coached at all times. And I think that just raises the level of intensity. And listen, when we go in there and we're playing in Kroger Field, it's going to be intense, all right? And you have to learn to operate that environment. And I think the way we practice has created that environment. And that's been a big statement by a lot of the players that have come visited. And I think they see the vision of what we're doing right now. They can already see it, but they can also see the plan for the future and the culture that's going to be established here, the type of players we're going to play with, the expectations that we're going to have within the program.
We got a lot. I think installing a totally new defense with a lot of new players, new pieces. I really felt like the last probably 5 practices, I think we really started to gel a little bit. I think you start to figure out a little bit who can do what, who you can count on, who can do different things, and I feel pretty good about where we are right now.
I've heard a lot of different players say that it's more of a complicated defense, but it also allows them to do more, make more plays. How do you feel like everyone's kind of mentally getting?
I think to play football at this level is challenging, and so you have to have different ways to defend different people and different options, and so I think part of it is everything's new, right? So the terminology, they don't know how to speak it. They were speaking French for 4 years, now they're speaking Spanish, and so I think to learn an entirely new verbiage and new defense is challenging. So there's probably part of that. But I think they've done well. We certainly, do I wish we could take a break and start over and do 15 more practices? I do, but that's the football coach in you. So, but I'm happy with where we are. We still got a lot of work to do and a lot of progress to be made, but I do think we're on the right track.
Brown, last He said those corners in particular are going to play a lot more press man than they were used to in the previous scheme.
Yep.
Why do you like that? What just philosophy?
I think, like I kind of look at it like you have to be able to dictate to the offense sometimes there's no layups. And I do think that, those corners, a year ago they had some injuries, and I think they had to kind of manage through some games where I do feel pretty good about our depth. I think AB's done a great job with those kids. And I think they're good players. So, I knew when I took this job, I knew a little bit about a couple of them that were younger kids. I knew obviously about Rye. So, I'm very confident with that group. And I think, we are going to play a little more man than they did. But I think part of that is just hopefully, being healthy throughout the season with those kids.
Obviously, there's the spring game format where it's true offense, true defense, the points reward for that. Stein said that you got to reward defense for stock. Just how excited are you to see your guys go out there and compete and play with that season?
Yeah, I think anytime we go compete, you're excited to see. I feel like it's like taking a test, right? You get lesson number 3, you study and you go take that test. So that's kind of where we are. So I'm excited to see. Go out there and tackle live a little bit and do some of that, and I think, see how some of the young kids continue to improve. I think is important.
Who's the MVP of the defense this spring?
I don't know. I feel like we've had a lot of kids really make progress. I mean, the one kid that jumps out at me when I think about man, I think I think Rye's a really good player. I think Teron Nichols is a really good player, and I'm really glad he's here. We lost. At the last place I was at, we lost. I jumped on a plane and flew to see him and his mom, and that was the right decision. So he's a tremendous player, really smart, competitor. I think he's everything you want in a football player, man. I think I'm really glad like he's here and he's playing at the level he is.
Anybody else? Very good.
That was easy. Appreciate y'all.
Right.
Thanks.